Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to the Second Page Podcast, our special Tuesday 9:30 prime time podcast slot, bringing it to you in the beginning of the week this time because as we are getting closer to the midterms, we understand that you just want more Second Page. I am Joseph Oswald, with you as always, and of course today a very special reintroduction across the board, Mr. Jay Martinez.
Back like he never left.
Back like he never left, Jay. Look at him.
I'm back.
And of course, we've got a good old Steve Johnson over here, our producer, now sitting over on the square desk.
I'm not gonna lie, I feel like I'm slumming it over here.
It's okay.
Yeah, why?
It's all your stuff. So.
Sitting around the common folk.
You
must
must
be
like
amongst
having
the plebes.
Yes, I like having the power of being behind the desk, shutting off people's mics.
I think you'll do just fine. We could probably use you in the White House, though. And then, of course, we've got our good friend LeVar behind the desk working internship
LeVar
style.
Jr.
LeVar Jr. Working internship style, making sure that we do well. So we're going to get right into it.
Before you start, I just want to give a shout out to Courtney, who is watching us from overseas, and Miss Baldiaki, who is watching us from upstairs.
Right,
the call is coming from inside the house.
You want to play a game?
I see what you do.
Yes. All right. So we are in our new primetime slot. As we've already mentioned, the Second Page is episode 39. We are approaching our 1 year mark. I believe that's going to be in October.
Yep.
So we just wanted to say... Shocktober?
Yeah.
Are we going to do anything shocking for October?
We should do a live show from Six Flags at Fright Fest.
Ooh.
Well, it's going to be October, and then November is going to be the midterm. So, I mean, I guess it could be Shocktober. You never know. Something crazy could happen. So
you mean like the Democrats could screw it up again?
They have never done that ever in the history of the Democratic Party.
Well,
they've never screwed up anything. They've never had a misstep.
The closer we get to it, the more I think it's a possibility. But let's not dwell on that.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess.
All right. So we are back.
Nobody can ruin a good thing like a Democrat.
Brett Kavanaugh's first hearing was today for SCOTUS seat suspiciously vacated by Justice Kennedy. Wrapped up today to acquire protest and tens of thousands of unread pages of information. Republicans forge ahead, noting that plenty of good decisions were made without any input of evidence throughout history. McCain's replacement is a surefire conservative that coincidentally has also been coaching Brett Kavanaugh through these hearings and will be seated just in time to cast an unbiased vote.
It's like your
Senate.
driving instructor administering your driver's test.
Mm-hmm. And then sitting and waiting for you at the DMV to sign your permit.
Yes.
The goddess of victory whispers unto thee, just do it. And Bob Woodward did. Fear spreads like butter in the sun at the White House, and loathing was always present. Obama said pivot to Asia, so Trump heads to Brazil. Voting has never been more important. Not doing so tells those in power that you're not willing to do even the smallest thing to protect your rights and your democracy. So keep tuned in, comment live, join this conversation as we begin now. Brett Kavanaugh, go.
All right. Okay.
Yeah, very well said. I like that. That was good.
By Brett Kavanaugh, did you mean Neil Gorsuch?
Don't. You're not supposed to
don't
say
bring
his,
that guy
don't
up.
take his
Well,
name in
I
front of
mean,
me.
Brett Kavanaugh brought up.
Brett Kavanaugh.
He brought up Merrick Garland because I think Kavanaugh works under Garland, right?
Well, he
Does
worked.
he?
No, he probably might have clerked for him at once. Listen. There are hundreds of thousands of pages of documents relating to Brett Kavanaugh that we are not privy to right now. So he could have worked for the Flying Spaghetti Monster for all we know.
Right.
Republicans do not want us to know the information, and the only reason they don't want us to know is because they know that what they're hiding from us could very well scuttle Kavanaugh's appointment, thus dealing Trump and the Republicans a massive blow.
Okay, I'm going to play devil's advocate here.
You might as well just get a board game and just make a piece that looks like you.
Okay. Now, let me ask you a question. Could they be hiding the things during the Bush years because of all the sort of privacy abuses and liberties that we took after 9/11? Because there was a lot going on at that time. So maybe it's a matter of national security and not necessarily banning abortion.
It was not an issue of national security, because if it was an issue of national security, they would have said, in the interest of national security, we are not releasing this information. They used executive privilege.
Which is the first time that's ever happened, right?
And yeah, every Supreme Court justice, the White House has released all the information about when they were lawyers, where, and whatever they did for them. This White House is withholding that information, not to mention how secretly they put together this whole nomination in the first place, between basically bribing Justice Kennedy off the court, having Neil Gorsuch sitting there just like,
is that what you think?
Stroking his fingers like,
I'm going to take my shot at being devil's advocate right now. knowing that there's no way that the Democrats can block this. He's going to get nominated regardless, right? Why would the White House not put everything out? Do you think it's just an attempt again by Trump just being who he is, right? He's playing to his base. He's playing for prime time. He knows that this is going to be something that's talked about. I mean, they said they weren't going to release X amount, then the day of they release 40. Tomorrow they'll release 20. Maybe eventually they'll release everything. But why not release? You get me? Like it's a lose-lose situation in a way.
No, but I'm just saying it could have been things in there about like waterboarding and like.
But so what? He's still going to get appointed. Is my point. The Republicans are going to say no. You get me? Like he's a conservative hero they wanted. There's no shot
we should
that he's
definitely
not
be
going to
clear
be.
That the information being withheld is being withheld by the White House.
Yeah,
it's
by the White House. Yeah,
not being his judges' records and stuff like that are not being withheld. But the time he spent as a lawyer under the Bush administration is terribly important because it will give an insight onto what kind of a judge.
What was he doing exactly during the White House, like in the White House?
We don't know because they're withholding all the documentation. But from what we do know, this is the type of person who says that a sitting president could not be indicted.
But that's, I mean, a lot of people say that.
Well, not just that, but we also have a person who doesn't believe in restricting the powers of the president, who wants to look at the law the way that Scalia looked at it, where you just read it and that's what it is. And while in certain cases it's great to have a code system like that where it's like this is legal, this is not.
Yeah, he's a strict
but when you have someone
that's
who's going to look at something written 200 or 300 years ago and say this is exactly how it's supposed to be for the rest of time, then you have a person who is not appreciating the Constitution as the living document that it is, that has been amended 20 some odd times and is going to continue to be changed. Now, like we talked about last week, unfortunately, it was the day before John McCain died. Rest in peace to John McCain, a true American hero, which we were all saddened by despite our political beliefs. But you can see by the person that Ducey has appointed to replace him that the entire Supreme Court system, the entire court system and justice system in general is so politicized that it's almost impossible to walk it back. You can't just give Merrick Garland a hearing and say that that's going to make it all better because Donald Trump is picking the people that he appoints to these positions and is nominated to be advised by the Senate, completely controlled by Mitch McConnell at the time, from a pre-selected list from a completely unbiased and ultra-conservative group, the Federalist Society, that does not have the best interests of Americans at heart. They have the best interest of billionaires at heart. They have the best interests of business owners that control thousands of employees and their health care at heart, and they have the best interests of the priests at heart.
I guess I'll make my question easier and more straight to the point.
Because he thinks we're stupid.
No. It's just because we know all this, right?
Okay.
And with knowing all this, he's still going to get... He's going to get through, right? He's going to be, he got nominated. He's going to be appointed.
This is a rubber stamp. It's a mock trial.
Exactly. So,
Absolutely.
So why even try and put up a fight?
Because you have to.
Yeah,
but you have to go through
we're playing into the whole
cases.
drama.
No. But the thing is...
Well, I know we have to go through the process, but the whole, journey today, because I guess you have to do, but what's
history matters. When people look back, all this will
then
pass.
They'll say, at least they did this.
Right.
Okay.
Right. And we'll know who was the rubber stamp. We'll know who was complicit in all of this, and so history's watching, and we'll see how it all ends.
I have one suggestion.
Well, we know how.
I do have one thing to say though.
Go.
Just again, this is again on the devil's advocate side of things. This is not like whether it's Kavanaugh or Gorsuch, right? These are people that were on his list.
Yep.
Right? We knew this was coming when he won the election.
Yep.
So for us to be surprised now,
shouldn't be.
No, nobody is surprised. It's just that we are caught off guard by the audacity in which we have gotten to the situation.
Really?
Because
after what they did to Obama, you're surprised.
Yeah, no, it's because listen, we're human beings, and everything that surprises us eventually we get numb to. That's why we can't see our nose on our faces, even though our brains know it's there.
I can see my nose.
Yeah, but that's because you're thinking about it now. The point is, though, that most of these people
I would
that
say
saw
it's because
this
I'm
list,
black and I have a broad nose that I'm proud of.
That is very, very true, and we're glad you're proud of it. But there are some white dudes and some Hispanic dudes with some rather protruding nostrils that I've met in my life. Point is, we did see the list. We did know this could happen, but
would happen, not could.
Would happen. But we did not. Yeah. We are constantly surprised by, and if we weren't, it wouldn't be all over the news and in tweets, by how audacious and hypocritical these hearings can be. With Chuck Grassley, head of the Judiciary Committee, just completely ignoring the requests of Democrats and completely ignoring the protests and completely ignoring common procedure for running judicial hearings by ignoring blue slips from other senators. that they have just completely run roughshag over the entire idea of a Republican
but
democracy.
I disagree that it's about Kavanaugh. That's what I disagree
It's not.
about.
It's all the politics of it now.
It's
but
all about Trump.
He is the point. The man
people
stared
are
down a guy
surprised.
trying to shake his hand and walked away from him.
You know
this
what?
is a person who does
This
not
is
care
when
about
I'll play
America.
devil's
He
advocate
cares
as
about
well.
about aggressively
he
getting
might
where
not
he
have
wants
look,
to be.
This is where like this shit gets a little too much in my opinion, and where like we really nitpick almost everything, and that's the problem with like a 24/7 news cycle and Facebook and Twitter and YouTube. He might not have known who that was. He might not have heard him over what was going on. You don't know who's on camera and what trick they're gonna play on you in this type of environment. So maybe that's why I don't know if
But
his mindset
also-
was like,
also-
oh, this is the father of a victim from Parkland. I'm not gonna shoot. But now he's being played that way. It's gonna be defended on another way on
Look
Fox
at a
News,
man's
and, like,
eyes. Look at a man's eyes. Look at a
He
person's
did look at
face
him.
when
But
someone's
hang on,
eyes.
hang on,
No,
hang
I'm saying
on.
when you
Whatever.
look at someone's face, every human being, all 9 billion of us, we immediately
there
within
9
5
billion
seconds
now?
judge
No.
everybody. Yeah, there
I
are
don't
9
know.
billion people on the
I don't
planet.
I
think
thought it was like
Look it
7
up.
billion.
Look it up.
I thought it was like
That-
7,
Yeah,
but whatever.
2005. Okay, so when
a lot of effing
when
going
any
on.
billions
A
of
lot.
us look at any other human being in the face within the first few seconds, you decide whether or not you like or trust this person, and you can tell
No.
through most people, unless you spent your entire life looking down at a cell phone or tablet, which kids are now these days, you are able to kind of tell what's going on in someone's head or what type of person they are based on their interactions with other human beings.
okay.
Look into this man's eyes. Look at the way he talks. Look at the way he
Okay.
says about what he is like as a judge, and look how he treats other people. And you can see right now that this is not a person that cares about America, the Constitution, cares about the advancement of his
to
job.
come down on the side of the conservatives, but you are wrong
You're
here,
supposed
sir.
to, you're
And I will
supposed to be
get to
unbiased.
that.
You can't just
and I will
say you
get-
won't come down on them.
And I will get to that in a second, but we do have 2 comments from our good friend Courtney. He says, sad that he can be confirmed with this cloud hanging over the White House. We will get into that in a moment. But
Yep,
also,
that I agree with 100%.
would Kavanaugh have to recuse himself if any constitutional crisis came up with Trump?
I think he would.
They
but
don't
he
have to
won't.
do jack
Yeah.
shit. When you're a Supreme Court justice,
Yeah.
you don't have to listen to anybody or do anything. It's all whatever you
I
want.
think ethically he should, and probably he'll
Absolutely.
be called to do it. And, I think
And then
if-
Donald Trump will
if he
rip
took
his
him-
toupee off his
if
head
he
because
took-
Jeff Sessions and Kavanaugh.
If he took himself seriously, he would. And again, I don't really know
He
much about the
doesn't
guy.
strike me as
For
a
me, he's a
person who
blank
doesn't
canvas.
take himself seriously. Like
That's what I'm
so
saying.
this is the thing.
But do you think Trump would let him then become the nominee if maybe this wasn't brought up? Do you like with what happened with Jeff Sessions? You don't think that maybe this guy gave Trump a lie? Maybe he said, "Sure, I won't recuse myself," and then he'll do the right thing later on. But I think it's a question that he would have been asked before being given the nomination. Like, if I appoint you, will you like?
That I don't know that, right? I
Well,
think
Trump's
that,
an idiot. I would have asked him.
right, but see,
If you didn't think that every one of these members on the list weren't vetted, weren't asked by Donald Trump or his associates,
but
what do you feel about these
think
key
Donald
things
Trump
that he wouldn't have
chose
made it on
him?
this list? Yes.
Right. Donald Trump is in office because of a list
Yeah,
that was
he didn't
handed
choose
to
him.
him
Yeah.
by those
Federalist
conservative
Society or
groups,
whatever,
right?
yeah.
So what I'm saying
But
is,
ultimately, out of those 25
Kavanaugh
people, you picked Kavanaugh and Gorsuch.
and Gorsuch seem like men of principles. They have horrible principles, but they are,
Yeah.
or at least seem to be men. Like they believe in the shit that
Yeah.
they're saying.
And like
That
Jo-
corporations
yeah.
are people.
And like Joe was
and-
saying before, the strict constructionists, like that exists. That is a
Right.
school of thought. Like they just really don't see that document as a
they
living,
can't even
breathing
envision
thing.
how they could be wrong.
But that's fine. I mean, we could disagree with it, and we do. But I'm saying that is a school of thought. It's not like it's rare. People will keep being educated and believing that past, these nominees and this Supreme Court. I mean, people will have that.
And to
line
be
of thinking
clear,
later on.
everybody that's decrying the sky is falling, the sky is
It's not.
falling.
It's-
First of all, and again, I know they've
the
been
sky is getting
restructuring.
oppressively close to the ground. I'll
They've
tell
been
you that.
restructuring the lower courts. However,
42
Which is a
judges
bigger
already.
case-
42 judges
a
approved.
case will have to come to them that puts this to the test. And, at the end of the day, like, Trump replaced 2 conservative judges, right? Scalia died. He was a hardcore conservative. It should have been Gorsuch. What's his name?
Merrick Garland.
Merrick Garland should have gotten his chance, but he was
100%,
still replacing a conservative judge. So you didn't really change the court with
I think
Gorsuch.
Merrick Garland would
But
have
you
been a
added somebody
moderate
who's got a good
judge.
40 years on his lifespan that can be deciding how America is run
Yeah,
for
and
the
the
next
one thing
50.
I do have about that is that Kennedy was definitely he definitely leaned conservative, but he was really a swing vote in a lot of major issues that the left champions. So I think that loss will be
Right.
felt because now that rule falls on John Roberts.
Maybe, but-
and you can't
but
count on him
listen.
like you counted on Kennedy.
Also, but listen, what's his name? Clarence Thomas is not going to live forever.
No.
So
But
you know what I mean?
But he's only 70 something. He could probably have another 10 years in there. Look at RBG, right? Like
First of all,
she's still alive and kicking.
if you look at the shape that those two people are in.
Good point. I'm worried that if Trump wins in 2020, he's going to get to replace her seat, and then we're really fucked, because I think the biggest problem now, I don't really have an issue with Kavanaugh per se. I have an issue with the fact that, yes, he's young. It'll take he's probably going to serve for 30 years.
Elections have consequences, all I'm saying.
Exactly. And then it's going to take a lot of Democratic administrations and Democratic presidents and time to kind of fix this course. Like, Trump is definitely going to leave his fingerprint in the history of our nation, regardless if he loses in 2020 or not. You get to appoint two Supreme Court justices.
I think we've gone past the Rubicon, and I don't know. There's, aside from courts, just what the discourse has become, and the way, I don't know that the genie can ever go back in the bottle, but that is a different argument. But at the end of the day, I just feel like, these judges, like, let's say Bush won, right? Let's say Jeb won, right?
Would they have put anyone else differently than they're
No, they would not.
They would have. No, you're right.
So this is not even about Trump.
That's what I'm saying.
A Republican won, so this is what happens.
Yeah.
And if we don't want it to happen again, then maybe get the F up and go vote this November and November in 2 years.
And that's what's going to anger me come November, because I know there's a lot of people on my Facebook feed, people I know, that bitch and moan about Trump, that bitch and moan about this and that. But come November, they will not go to the polls.
But you voted for the Green Party.
They will find, or that, or they'll go and vote independent.
Jill.
Like Joe was saying on the way here, I don't know if you want me to say this on the air or not, but he had a different preference for a governor of a certain state. I'll leave it at that. But he went with the nominee that was the favorite of the left in that, whatever, because he just knew there was no shot for his preferred candidate to win. So sometimes we just got to suck it up. I went and I pulled the lever or pushed the button for Hillary. I didn't want to, but I did. And I know you disagree with that. I know we've had this conversation.
I preferred Hillary over Bernie, but over both of them, I preferred Kasich, but that's another argument.
You know what? And I did. And I think what Kasich said in that article he had commented on, really hit the nail. I think right now our politics are so divisive and so polarized that maybe you shouldn't vote based on party. You should vote based on the candidate. And I like Kasich. Not in everything. I don't agree with everything with him, but he's got some good policy that matches.
Listen, I was on the Kasich train in the first Republican debate in 2016, where everybody was taking all their time to go and pile on Hillary and Obama, and Kasich said, "Hey, instead of blaming them for everything, I thought we were the party of ideas, right?" And that to me is like, well, yes, right? So let's not blame everybody for anything. What do you have? What, aside from what are you against? What are you for, and what are you trying to do?
Yep, I think everything now becomes about what you're against, not what you're for.
I mean, yeah, and again,
look at the way people position themselves.
I mean, that's why
no one really has a concrete.
That's
plan.
how we've ended up with this.
They just say what they won't do or what they won't allow. They won't say how they're going to get past.
Did you see Ben Sass today?
All going to come out in primaries.
The primaries forces people to go too right or too left, and then the independents are left.
Yeah, but then decide. If you look at it, Andrew Cuomo, establishment, despite the fact that he's Democrat, going up against Cynthia Nixon, who represents almost everything that the far left can represent, but is becoming a name across the nation, and people are talking about not only what she says, but what New York does and this whole region does, because people are that interested in seeing a debate, that they are that interested in seeing discourse. They aren't interested in all the compromises that can come up. They're interested in, are you going to attack the guy that I don't like, or are you going to defend me against the one that I don't like? And that's exactly how the Republicans see it. If they don't put judges in, and if they don't get guns in every household, and if they don't protect the white working class, then they are in danger of their livelihoods. And that is more important to them than doing something that's right for the country, like taking time before voting on Brett Kavanaugh. I'm not saying don't vote on Brett Kavanaugh because I thought Merrick Garland deserved a vote. I can't be a hypocrite and say he does not deserve a vote, block him at every chance.
Hey, Anna Marie Lopez.
He deserves to be voted down. He deserves to be voted down because he is not the type of person that's going to take the Constitution of the United States and actually follow through with the very beginning, the we the people, in order to form a more
You
perfect
don't believe
union.
he will. You can't say he's
Yeah.
not.
I do not believe he
definitively.
will.
I believe
just
he
like
will
I didn't
in his
believe Neil
way.
Gorsuch would, and just like so many people said about most of the conservatives that end up on the court. I mean, we used to have Supreme Courts that are supposed to be the end all be all, the ultimate wisest of our society, who thought that that African Americans could be worth 3/5 of a person, or that Jim Crow laws were totally reasonable, or segregation is separation but equal is reasonable, until someone comes along later on and decides no, that's not right.
Well,
See,
then,
but
You put
someone's
Brett
gonna have
Kavanaugh
to
up
come
there,
along.
and you will have an overturning of Roe v. Wade. You will have
You see,
decades
but-
and
Okay,
decades
Jeffrey
of precedent.
Tuden. Yeah.
Listen, you'll have
But
decades
we'll-
of precedent that get overturned just because they want to say that they did it, that they can do it,
I don't
and that
think
no
he
one
will.
can stop them.
I
Yeah,
don't
it's
think
not
he
going to
will.
be just Brett Kavanaugh, but it's going to be the only way to get to the Supreme Court is to have somebody go through the appellate court, and the appellate court decides something, then you appeal to the Supreme Court. And out of the hundreds and
understand.
hundreds and hundreds, Supreme Court will look at the ones that make the most difference to the country, and people in the Supreme Court, Neil Gorsuch and Brett Kavanaugh and the other conservatives, get to vote on what cases to come
Well,
before
I think
them.
but-
repealing Roe versus Wade would be a very big mistake for the Republican Party. I think they know it. I think the justices know it, and it would just be overturned.
They're
right on
not
the
going to
court slip.
look. They're not going to repeal it. They're not going to overturn it. But they're going to find a way to strike it down and allow just states to decide, which will mean about 30 different states in this union will have outlawed abortion by the end
Okay,
of this
okay,
of the
okay.
25th,
I don't disagree with.
2030.
Okay, I don't agree with that, but is that completely wrong though? Right? Because in the school of thought for these type of people is that it should be the state and not the federal government dictating what we do, right?
No.
So again, they're just playing into what they philosophically
Also,
believe.
let's be
Can
clear,
you blame them
because
for that?
what it sounds like you're saying is that conservative judges are not qualified to make decisions because they don't think the way that you or
Exactly,
maybe
and I think that's a slippery slope.
right?
I think
Well, I
and
think
we
that's a
can't-
very
You phrased that
interesting way. It's a
perfectly
very
said,
interesting way
yeah.
to make semantics on it, because I think that a judge has every qualification. Like I said, he deserves to have a vote. But if you're, for one, not going to release information because
Did
you
you
think
like
that it's too
Scalia?
damaging. I didn't know too much about Scalia. All I knew was that he was a.
Scalia is a super strict constructionist. I mean, super.
I'm not saying I didn't
Guess
know
who was
that.
his best buddy in the court?
Also an
Ruth
asshole.
Bader Ginsburg, right? I mean, these are two people on the. But like for them, I mean, look at her. Let's take this at face value, right? We respect her, we like her, right? Because she's in our camp, right? But if we think she's a good woman, if we think she's a good human being and a good justice, and she saw him as a true friend, she didn't just say he was a colleague. She said he was a true friend to her. Then we have to take it at face value that she knows in person and he's not a bad person.
Also,
he just
you have
doesn't
to think of it-
agree with us,
you
and we
have
don't
to-
agree with
right,
him. That's
so to
all.
think
It
at
doesn't
the end of the
disqualify
day-
him. We just got to get presidents there that aren't going to elect people like that.
After
If we
Merrick
wanna-
Garland, they don't even go to lunch together anymore. They said that the judges on the Supreme
don't know
Court,
about all that.
they don't talk to each other except for when they're in session. They're not.
Who said that?
These are people that have sat down with Ruth Bader Ginsburg, that have sat down with Justice Black and Sotomayor and all them, and they're asking, what is it like sitting
Kavanaugh
up
was
there
the
on the
new
Supreme
guy.
Court?
And a lot
No,
of them are
Gorsuch.
new. I mean, they've
when,
been a lot.
when Gorsuch got elected to the bench, the man
But
just
Gorsuch
sat up.
is still the new guy.
Yeah, Roberts is
They've
pre-
known
Roberts
each other
is
for
pretty new.
20 years,
Robert's
right?
got a point at what, 2004, 2005? He's still pretty new.
So
Like, I
here's
mean, these
the-
people were like Clarence Thomas, Scalia, Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Like, they were all like old school, like from the 80s.
and they
like,
all went
you know,
through
yeah,
a ton of shit to
together.
get elected.
Yeah, I don't know if
Yes,
that's really.
all of them were also approved by majorities from the Senate. All
Well,
of
we
them
weren't
also,
polarized the way we
all
are.
of them got support from the other side, and all of them in their confirmation hearings had almost 100% of the
Yeah.
documentation released to the people. So
I-
even if I
That's
did
an
not
argument.
agree,
That's
even
an
if I did
argument,
not
but-
agree with Neil Gorsuch, my main concern was that Merrick Garland didn't get his, so Neil Gorsuch shouldn't. He's sitting in a stolen seat. My issue with Brett Kavanaugh is not that he is a conservative judge. Yes, I'm against most of the ideas of conservative judges. Mine is that he is going to be shoved down our throats, just like the tax bill was, just like all the reforms and deregulations that Donald
Okay,
Trump is pushing
I
through.
got it.
I think that he should be voted down because I don't think that this should be happening right
I
now.
have a question for you, good sir, and we
sir.
should probably move topics
Yeah.
after this question.
Agreed, because we're going to circles.
Are we viewing judicial appointments only through the lens of the executive office or the executive himself? Which means we're not looking at Kavanaugh or Gorsuch for who they are. We're looking at them because Trump appointed them.
This is where I
Why-
think you
why
can
wouldn't
reconcile
we,
what
though?
you've both said. I think you're right in when you said that it doesn't matter if Trump was elected or not because we'd still get Gorsuch and we'd still get him. I agree 100%. I also agree with Joe, and this is where I think we're meeting halfway, that everything changed
That's not how things work here, by the way. We just argue until the end.
until the end. Everything changed
And then we
when
agree that
they
I'm right.
denied Merrick Garland even the chance, like they could have struck him down. I think Joe said this plenty of times. They could have, nominated him, put him through the process, and maybe just said no.
And then honestly, I don't think I would have had any stink about Neil Gorsuch. We would have lost 2 episodes worth of conversation.
Yeah, and I think you're right. I think after that major incident, we are viewing it, but we shouldn't, because as you said, and I think you're 100% right. Any other Republican that would have been elected would have either chosen the same people that Trump has chosen or someone similar. I don't think we'd have anyone different. So the big issue is go out in November, vote, and make sure that when it's time in 2020 to vote, that you're not just sitting there, being a tweet warrior instead of going to the polls and voting, and then you're crying about it. That's
right,
all.
because if Ocasio-Cortez doesn't win, then you're going to stay home.
Yeah, which I'm shocked she did. Good for her, but I'm shocked.
Oh, here's another question that I want to ask about, right?
Yeah.
Because people are, saying, because we have the Senate race with Beto O'Rourke, right?
He's like a point within, right?
Yeah, which is crazy in Texas, right?
Yeah.
But we could see a real situation where this junior congresswoman and junior senator could be the people running in the primaries, because I think those 2 people are way more interesting.
Yes,
it's gonna be Joe Biden is gonna have.
Courtney wanted Uncle Joe to run.
Listen, I've got actual money on it.
Yeah, me too.
I am so sure I'm putting my money where my mouth is.
I think he's like a surefire win.
What is it, 3rd time's the charm?
Maybe
it doesn't.
No, it'd be like a 4th time for him, right?
To run for the nomination, but I think that he would be a shoo-in. I mean, even Bernie Sanders wouldn't run against.
I think Beto O'Rourke would. Just saying, he shouldn't, because he'd be too new.
They're young. Obama was a junior senator.
Yeah, but he served a couple of years.
Yeah, well, Beto O'Rourke would serve 2 years.
But I think Obama had more, right? Or there's both.
I don't know.
Holy shit, good for him. Okay,
I think
Beto would be a better candidate than.
It's usually senators. It's rarely congressmen that.
And she's 2 left.
Things. Yeah, but maybe that's what it takes in this world.
She's not going to end up on any national ticket anytime soon.
Yeah.
And I don't think she wants to, because her whole message was about the fact that she knocked on all the local doors.
And she lives where she lives, and she represents her people and everything. Yeah.
She's not going
It'd be a very big jump for her.
No, what I'm talking about is not going to leave Texas anytime soon. He's not going to run in 2020. He might run in 2024. But as far as my opinion and seeing what I think about politics,
I'm not saying
someone like Barack Obama came out of nowhere. Barack Obama came out of left. We were not expecting it, because traditionally the people that run for president are these older, been around the block a few times people. But Beto O'Rourke will not get through a Democratic primary against someone like Joe Biden. He will not get through a Democratic primary.
I don't know if that's true.
Yeah, you're being pretty definitive. I agree. I just don't know if I would go on the record
with
and say
how far how far we're pulling to the left and to the fringes. You don't think that someone new will beat an establishment person with all the things that are going on in the party?
He would have to really rile up the base that Obama did, and that would mean blacks, Hispanics, and young people. And women. Women came out for Trump a lot, which bugs me out. But I don't know. I think Cortez will alienate more people than she'll inspire.
I don't know.
And again, I'm not going to be one of those people that's, I would love this. Look how exciting and energizing
I'm not saying...
Put in some work. Show me what you can do. Because when Barack Obama ran for president... Hold on, let me speak. When Barack Obama ran for president, everybody and their mama knew that he was well-spoken, that he was a good-looking guy, that he probably fit the position. But there were millions of people that voted for Hillary Clinton or Howard Dean that did not think that someone with almost no experience should be running for president. And then when he won the nomination, we got behind him because he was the Democrat, because now he had the money and the TV time, and he could really show us what he wanted to accomplish, and that he could put people behind him. But when it first starts off, when Barack Obama first ran, I actually was a Hillary Clinton supporter and a Howard Dean campaigner. Not that I generally supported him, but I said I would vote for him or I would campaign for her. And I did that because I thought Barack Obama, as much as he's a great looking guy and all this stuff works, I don't really know if he's going to be good for us. And yes, I was wrong. He was great for us, but then look what happens. We ended up with Donald Trump.
I was on the Obama train from the get.
Hang on. I just want to point out.
And Courtney made a good point.
Yes, he did say he didn't have a record, so it wasn't a lot.
But now people want that.
But let me ask you a question. The same thing you just pointed out that you were saying about Obama is the same thing you're saying about Beto and Ocasio.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but
I'm
Obama
just
was running
saying.
for president, and they're running for Congress and for Senate.
Yeah, he ran for Senate first.
Yeah,
and he only
and
did 2 years of your
that
right.
was
I know
fine, and I
that.
was like, okay, George was the one that had the picture of him up on our dorm room wall, not me.
All
didn't
I'm
know.
saying
I heard
is
him talk before, and I was like,
behind
I
Hillary
tend to be
Clinton.
right.
Then that's great because we were on the
Remember-
air. But
remember
I'm
I
telling
said
you that
I think one
do
of the
not.
two might make it.
Even
It
if
might-
they do,
might
I'm
make
telling
them
you, I
run.
don't want that. I don't think.
I don't
that's
want it
where-
either. That's not what I'm saying.
No, but I
I'm
don't
saying
think
it
they'll win
could
the
happen
nomination,
in today's.
but I think they'll go
in
for it. They might,
today's-
one of them might get far, and I don't think it's what's her name again?
Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
Cortez. Yeah, I don't think it'll be her. I think if anyone takes the leap and makes it a little far, it'll be Beto, and I don't think he'll win it either. But why not?
Well,
Give
it
us
would
a
be
face
nice.
I
in there.
think Beto could. Well,
You're going to see a lot of changes on the map, especially because only 2 senators from each state get to go. So if we get a blue, if we flip a Texan blue, then you're going to see a blue flip red. You're going to see someone like Bob Menendez lose to Huggin for New Jersey Senate race.
But also-
you're going to see Florida. Andrew Gillum might actually win the governor's race.
That'd be crazy.
And become not only the first black governor of Florida,
Well, after that guy
but a
fucked it
Democrat
up by
for a
saying he's
long
gonna
time.
monkey it up.
Yeah,
Like,
but
you're a fucking
well,
retard.
but he'll probably still get plenty of votes. He will get plenty of votes
course
for
he
that.
will. Look
And
at the
when
racist
you have
votes.
Rick
About it, he
Scott
lost
now
the
running for
independents.
the Senate seat there, he's still guaranteeing that Florida stays red somewhere.
Look,
because
the-
he will win
The
that
trick
seat.
in running in today's environment is that when you're in the primary, you have to pull to the direction of whatever the base is, right? You have to either pull more right or pull more left than you really are, and then kind of don't go left or too right enough. Then when you have to win the independents to win the national election, that you haven't done yourself too much damage or put yourself in too much of a hole. So I think it's really hard. I think the
Here's the thing.
independents will nominate the next president or independents.
if the Democrats take the House and possibly the Senate in November,
I don't
and they
think they'll take
open
the
up
Senate.
all these investigations against Trump, and they don't have, and they're not railroaded by the Republicans, right?
Yeah.
I think Trump will be forced to resign in disgrace.
I would
and
love
Mike
that.
Pence, who believes he was sent by God to
God.
be the president, I think Beto O'Rourke beats a Mike Pence, but Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez beats a Trump.
You know what? I think you just
Really?
invented a card game.
Huh.
I think you just invented a card
No, hold
game.
on. I want to go down that rabbit hole for a bit. Why do you think
that is definitely an acid trip.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
do
don't
not
agree.
I think
don't
that'd be
agree, but
a
I'm
great
curious as to
story.
why.
It sounds like a great story and great card game. I think that's a ridiculous statement to make. Talking about putting up a socialist Democrat in her 30s up against a nearly octogenarian by the time she would even have a chance. I don't even think she would be old enough to run for president. She's in her 20s, isn't she?
Yeah, she's 27.
Yeah, she wouldn't be able to run for
wouldn't be
president
able
for
to
8
be
more years.
35.
35.
35.
So get your idea out of
Shit,
here.
Okay.
Joe brought up
Alright.
a good point.
Okay.
Damn.
Boom, lawyer.
Listen, I
She
just
has
think
time. She has
but
time,
I
though.
think Trump in a debate with his foolishness
Anyone
would
in a debate with half a
overtalk.
brain.
This is why
No.
he's not allowed to
I know what you're
talk
I
to
saying.
Bob
think he would
Mueller.
emasculate Beto O'Rourke. In that,
But that wouldn't look as good when he's doing it to a woman, and it might get women to kind of get turned off by the way he's treating her in
Yeah.
a debate.
no.
What a nasty
Sure,
woman.
but
That
I'm
did so
saying
much
I
damage
don't
to him.
think because Beto O'Rourke is going to try to have a real
And
discussion.
be classy and be intelligent
Right.
and not throw punches.
And Trump is going to be like, well, your mother sucks cocks in hell, right? Like,
And his face is going to go like, yeah! And then there's going to be shirts the next day saying your mother's going to
so,
suck cock.
Well, I think what we're about to find out is very.
Courtney points out we do have Eric Holder,
do, we do.
And the former governor of Massachusetts.
That would be Mr.
Patrick,
No. No, bro, he ran for president. He
Whoa,
doesn't
hold
drink.
on.
He's a Mormon.
What is Eric Holder doing?
Mitt
What is
Romney.
Is
I don't
Eric
know
Holder
what
going to
Eric
run for
Holder's
office?
running for office.
I don't know.
Possibly.
I don't think he has
running
a shot, though. I like him, but I don't think he doesn't have name recognition.
No, Eric Holder doesn't have name recognition.
Outside of people that know politics, please go outside and ask, hey, who's Eric Holder, and see if
I
anyone
think
knows.
once he
No one
puts
will
his
even know
face,
that he was in the
yeah, but
Obama
they will know his
administration.
face. For one, they
You
will know
know
his
who's
face. For
not-
two, he's got enough money and backing in a Democratic Party.
You know
that he
who,
would get
curiously
elected.
enough, is not running again for mayor of Chicago right before the
Rahm
election
Emanuel?
time?
Yeah.
Rahm Emanuel. He decided.
Rahm Emanuel could never win a
I agree, he
Democratic
can't,
primary.
but I think he's too egotistical. He's going to try and run.
That would be
I'll put money right now
and
on
a
live
disaster.
TV saying that he will try and run for
Well,
the
I
for
still owe
Democratic
Can you
Courtney
Party.
and Steve
picture
a dollar.
the-
So
You do owe us
He's
a
the guy
dollar.
that sent fish in newspapers to people, like when he was like
Okay.
like a whip and like. Right,
Could
didn't he-
you imagine the attack ads against
Oh,
him
hell yeah, I
about the
could.
murder rate in
Yeah,
Chicago?
of course. He'd be.
be worse
Okay.
than
And he wouldn't
MS-13.
be wrong.
All right.
So listen, if you talk about Beto O'Rourke and you talk about this guy John Kyle, who used to be the senator from Arizona and is now going to replace John McCain, when we had talked about last Saturday, the day before John McCain died, one of the things we had said was the only way to stop the Brett Kavanaugh hearings and all this stuff if we don't lose is for every Democrat to boycott and for one or two Republicans to not show up, because then you deny them a quorum. And even though they will eventually get what they want, the message would be clear. And I think that the most important thing coming out of these midterms and stuff, it's not who you're going to vote for, is what message are we sending to the future? Because after this midterm, it's 2 more years before we get to vote for anything again. 2 years we have to live with whatever happens in November. 2 years of these lawmakers and these people who are not in touch with the real America, with everyday people, you and I. They're in touch with the billionaires, they're in touch with the racists, and they're in touch with the people who are most vocal. They're not in touch with the 100 and some odd million people that did not vote. The Democratic Party changed their rules on superdelegates and are allowing more independents to participate in caucuses and primaries, but that's not far enough. Right now, we've got lawmakers that postponed the Safe Elections Act, a bill that was just going to give money to make sure that local municipalities could afford to to update from Windows 7 and Windows 95, which is what some voting machines are running on. 12-year-olds are hacking into voting machines. They are postponing this.
You get Windows 10?
Yeah. They are postponing it because they think that there's nothing wrong, that nothing happened in 2016, and Republicans who control every committee in the Senate and the House are not allowing a bill that generally has bipartisan support to go through. And Trump and his allies, who have overrun local governments in the past 10, 15 years while Obama was president, decided it would hurt their chances in November. So they would also then be forced to admit that there was a problem in 2016. If they accept funding to update these machines, they're saying that they admit that something went wrong in 2016, and then basically, despite we already know they don't care about hypocrisy, have to go and say that they don't support Donald Trump. You seemed to you had something to say on that.
It's a lot of tie-in. No, I mean, all I have to say on that is that, I mean, it might be a whole different topic, but what you made me think about. I'm worried and I'm scared that we won't flip anything come November.
They're just neutral.
Democrats haven't figured it out. They've had time. They got their warning shot when Trump was nominated and won, and they still haven't gotten their shit together. And then come October, if we don't win the House and the Senate,
I mean, at least they beat the pedophile, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I mean,
at least
is that really
we
a
beat
high
the
bar?
pedophile.
Is that
We
really
beat
a
the
high
pedophile.
bar?
Yeah.
But my point
And
is
by
that
a thin margin.
it'll look very, very, very good for Trump going into 2020 if this midterm doesn't go the way it historically goes. It historically goes against the president and the party in power. And if for some reason they can hold on to the House and the Senate, I honestly, and I hate that I'm saying this,
They
Trump will
may
win
hold the Senate.
2020.
They may hold the Senate, but it's hard because the Republicans have to keep something like 27 seats or something like that, whereas the Democrats are really only defending like
9 or
6
8
or some.
They're defending more in the Senate than in the House. If they flip 24 seats, you get the majority in the House, and that's seemingly easy enough. It's seemingly easy enough. Right now, Vanguard is putting it at 28% chance of Republicans hold the House, more than 50% that they hold the Senate, and a 20 to 40% chance that by that time we will enter into a recession.
I used to believe in polls until Trump happened.
This is not a poll. This is a Vanguard, the people that have $15 trillion in investments, and they just look at everything.
That's the other thing. Like,
they have more money than the United States government.
We are on this amazing bull run, and everything is the highest before it's not.
Yeah.
Like Apple is at like $1.1 trillion right now, right? Amazon.
Listen, we said this probably within the first couple of weeks of our show that there's a recession coming, or maybe I just keep harping on it because I mean, just look at history. They do
say that analysts have predicted 12 of the last 7 recessions. So
they predicted it by what we talked about.
Pretty safe indicators
4 years ago.
I don't think you caught what I was saying.
The yield curve. We said 4 weeks ago or 5 weeks ago when the yield curve matches the what the hell was the other thing? There's the yield and whatever. When you're talking about bonds, you know, when the payout on one equals the payout on the other, that is been a solid 100% indicator of the last 12 recessions. And right now, the yield on the T-note is equaling the 25-year, which means that according to this historical marker, that we are at the edge of our bull market. We're going to enter a bear market, and if it's even half as long as the bull one, then we're talking about worse than a Great Recession. And with the way the rest of the world looks at us, no one's going to come to bail us out this time. No one's going to put together a big multinational law that saves the banks and all the investment firms that have their hands in every other country. Britain's going to be like, fuck you guys, screw you. Canada's going to be like, I don't care, screw you.
But this is where you completely see Trump's inexperience and Trump's stupidness, for lack of a better word.
I'm just adding up things like between the tax bill,
because
between the tariffs.
You see, but I think the tax bill would have helped to keep this bull market going because of all the tax incentives and breaks that corporations got, and that's really what helps the market keep going. And some can argue that it did help, right? That it kept, there has been growth under Trump. We've always said
it's artificial,
but the whole system is artificial. I mean, it's fake numbers.
Right,
they go up and down every day, and we give it value.
Of Trump, you have to give it to him at this point.
Yeah, no, of course, yeah, and that's what I'm saying. We should give credit where credit's due, but we should also acknowledge that this bull market started in 2009 under Obama, right? But I think
that's
the
when
tariffs,
the recession hit and
the tariffs and everything that Trump is doing now, that is what's hurting the bull run, and that's what's going to make everything. That's what's probably going to bring around inflation. And if he just left shit alone, he could ride this into another election win, but he won't.
Here's the other problem, though, right? With the tax bill,
every little thing
we can talk about tax bills,
yelling at Nike.
The tax bill spurring growth,
artificial growth.
Here's the problem with that. When you're thinking about what the deficit is, and you're thinking about the $1.3 trillion spending bill from the people who gave Obama shit for $700 million to take us out of a recession and save the auto industry and the banking industry and the insurance industry, but that's neither here nor there. You do not cut taxes when the economy is good. When the economy is good, you pay down the debt.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yep.
So you couple the tax cuts, which is fine if you're in a recession, that's what you do then, so you can spur growth. But now you've coupled that with a spending bill that's like
it equals what the tax cut was.
Yeah.
So
and they didn't see it coming. It's a complete surprise.
Well, at the moment, Donald Trump, we obviously know the only thing he cares about the economy is that it runs like his businesses, which we've all known have been bankrupt and which we all know have histories of just not paying people or just.
And if he get impeached and then we have a recession right after that, he'll say, "See, it's because you."
Yeah, exactly. But you'll have. Okay, so now he's trusting. He's trusting Mike Pence a lot. He's skipping the Asian tour, ASEAN, which is the Association of Southeast Asian Nations. Which, like we said before, Obama said the future is in Asia. You even mentioned it in the talking before the show that China and India are investing heavily in Africa because that's where the new China is. That's where the new cheap labor and resources is. That's where investment is. He is skipping Southeast Asia to go to a G20 summit in Buenos Aires, Argentina, a country who has a stressed economy, whose money is jumping by 60% inflation rates, and he's just going to go there and make fun of South America and say, you don't know what you're doing. And then he's going to go to France and say that Macron doesn't know what he's doing. And then he's going to go to Ireland and say the Irish don't know what they're doing, and he's going to come back here and say he had a successful
We have
overseas
breaking
trip.
news. Can I interrupt?
Breaking news. I love it.
Breaking news. So Democratic Representative Mike Kavanaugh has conceded defeat to Boston City Councilor Ayanna Pressley in the Massachusetts primary run for the U.S. House seat tonight. The latest upset to rock the Democratic Party and showcase a restive base eager for change, per CNN.
Well, I don't understand why anybody doesn't assume that Democrats or liberals can get just as energized for a cause as Republicans and conservatives got to elect Donald Trump.
Wait, so who won there?
Her name is Ayanna Pressley. She is a black Democrat and city councilor, and she beat Mike Kavanaugh, who's a 10-term congressman who is white. Not sure if those two things matter, but I'm just saying it's like
congressman?
Yeah. She beat him in the primary. He's a 10-term congressman.
I'm telling you, these primaries are where everybody's going to decide what
she's a young woman.
No, I mean left. Is she left?
Apparently, from this, and again, I'm reading it real quickly. She is not as left as Ocasio-Cortez, but yes, she fought. I think she has the support of Bernie Sanders.
Keep thinking that.
She was his.
Keep thinking that the
before the
break. Yeah. They tweeted her support for them, and now
if
Or
the far left,
Ocasio-Cortez and Bernie are
Listen,
congratulating
before the
her.
breaking news, I still understood that things are going to change. That the primaries are where you're going to see who's going to be what, and everybody always talks about how the only threat people have is being primaried. But you've got things like all 9 of Bernie Sanders backed people getting voted for their primaries of the Democratic
Yeah,
primaries
but to
in
be
Florida.
fair,
You've got Andrew
there's been a
Gillum.
whole
You've got
handful that
Cynthia
have
Nixon,
it.
even though she's behind double-digit points, she's still polling very high against Andrew Cuomo, who has been there forever, and his father was there forever. The Democrats are not unwilling to unseat the people in power, but they are far more willing to give someone far to the left a shot than I think people used to be 10 or 15 years
and
ago.
that's why you think Uncle Joe can win.
That's why I think Uncle Joe can win. Not only because
Why?
Because I think he's
not
embodies,
far left.
He embodies the
Because I
ideas
don't
of the
think the far
left
left
by
can win
supporting
yet.
Barack Obama. He embodies the left idea that got Barack Obama elected with the comfort of an establishment politician who we think can have our best interests at heart, despite that he might be creepy sometimes.
So he'll be the perfect vice president again.
He would be the perfect president, and
he's got a good personal story.
I have a
Man,
bit
he
of a
lost his
bias.
son to brain cancer.
Exactly. I have a bit of a bias, so I think he
know.
would appoint Barack Obama to the Supreme Court.
And I think seeing him and Barack Obama campaigning together again is just going to bring back this nostalgic feel of like
Yeah,
better
they can
times
go
and
ahead
good.
and campaign for
Yeah.
whoever the real nominee is.
Yeah, but
Well,
the real nominee might not want Obama
there
to
is
campaign
only
with them.
one
There have
person-
been people who have turned
Depends
it
on
down.
the state.
I think
Yeah,
only one person
well,
is declared
when-
for the Democratic nomination for president, a former or a current representative from the 5th District in Maryland.
Doesn't
He
matter.
used to live in
Anybody
Ridgewood,
who
New Jersey.
declares this
He's
early
not-
isn't going to win.
Yeah.
Probably not.
No, but he's still putting his name out there. Nobody's got any money. Nobody's ready to run against
Bernie's
Donald Trump
will
yet.
be done. That's
But
awesome.
Bernie's will be done. But I think that the most important thing you have to understand is that the primaries, while they are important and they do kind of give you that idea of what we're looking at, they are just that. They are primaries. They don't mean anything if this girl is going up against someone who has $50 million more than her to run against.
Yeah.
Beto O'Rourke and Ocasio-Cortez, they are the exception, not the rule. The people that are winning in Florida and
Or
they're
they
winning
could
in
be
New
a
York,
trend.
they could, and hopefully they are a trend. Hopefully this is what the blue wave looks like and sounds like as it crashes on shore.
We'll see.
Or it crashes and burns on land.
I have a
now,
quick question.
We are getting long in
Yeah, I
the
was
tooth.
going to say Nike or Bob Woodward. What do we want to talk about now?
Fear is spreading in D.C.
I guess,
Now,
okay.
one thing we have to mention from Bob Woodward is that he did not get to interview the president, but there's now a recording.
I
that's been
listened to
released
all 11 minutes of that
he
recording.
Proved
Oh, yeah.
that he
Okay.
tried to get in touch with the president. That even Kellyanne Conway admits that he did ask for the interview.
Not
Trump
only-
just can't get it together.
not
His
only Kellyanne
administration-
Conway.
Yeah, Kelly.
So-
not just them, but he can't
Wait,
get
that
it together.
skeleton is still on TV?
He cannot get everything together. His
Well, it was an
administration
audio
is not
recording,
functioning,
right.
despite the fact he gives his presidency an A+ and says that everything is running smoother than anything could possibly run.
When I think
Oh.
you have not Mike Flynn. Who was it? The General Kelly?
General, I
They
have
said-
quotes. I
okay,
have
go
quotes.
ahead. Yeah, because some
Okay,
of them
so I'll White House Chief of Staff John Kelly is quoted as calling the president an idiot and unhinged. Defense Secretary James Mattis says he has the understanding of a 6th grader. Rex Tillerson, an oldie but goodie, he's a fucking moron.
Courtney
Gary
wants you to
Cohn,
send the link and post it on our page so people can listen to
Yes.
the 12 minutes or whatever.
Will do. Gary Cohn calls him a professional liar. And John Dowd, his former attorney, calls him a fucking liar.
These are
what
people
did
who
it-
have already admitted that he cannot go to
And
give
what-
testimony
and you-
because he's
and
a
you
When you
compulsive
get
liar.
the Woodward
Yeah.
treatment, you get receipts.
Yeah, and you could look for it too, but I think that the General Kelly quote actually goes a lot longer. It might have been a different quote, but I think he says that he's fucking crazy.
And he
that
says
his
height
mind
of-
can't be changed, and we don't know why we're here. Like he's off
Listen,
the
he said
rails.
it's
He's
the
off
worst
the
job
rails.
It
he
took
ever
down
had.
Rex
You get me?
Tillerson,
Like-
and it can take down anybody else.
Like-
but before the midterms, nobody's going to get fired of any significance.
I mean, this is a whole other topic. We could revisit it next week or whatever. But there's a lot of lawyers within the Trump administration that are quietly leaving after having spoken to Bob Mueller. So, I mean, there's just, again, we can try and tie things
Listen,
in here
the
forever
Woodward
until we
book-
see something come out officially from Mueller, which I thought would happen by Labor Day weekend, and it hasn't. We really won't know. But yeah,
The
I
Woodward
think,
book has definitely provided
Yeah.
a good insight into what everybody already assumed was an unhinged administration. Yes, there are people that are leaving left and right because they don't want to get in trouble. And yes, there are plenty of people close to the president who think he's an idiot, but nobody is doing anything to stop him, with the exception of a few people like the ones who steal papers off his desk so that we
Gary
don't go
Cohn.
to, so that we don't go to war with South Korea for some
Or
reason.
they don't.
Or
Is-
we don't try to
How does that
assassinate
work?
Bashar
Is that
al-Assad.
like illegal to do, stealing president from the?
No,
I have no idea,
If,
man.
Papers
he's,
from the
if, he has,
president's
if he's the one that puts the paper on the desk, I'm sure he's allowed to take them off. In any case, the fact is that this stuff is now being brought to light, and you got to imagine that Trump is going to ask, "Did somebody really take papers off my desk?" And you can imagine how furious he's
How
going to
many
be
people will
consistently
be
undermined.
fired by
After the
week?
midterms? I
Now,
think 2 or 3.
I do have
Or
a
everyone.
question. Well, I want to point out. So I posted the video in the comment section, but there's a point there where Bob Woodward, where Trump's like, I don't know why you didn't call me. You know, you could have got to me. He's like, I did. I tried to reach out. He's like, no one ever told me. He's like, oh, that's funny because I spoke with Lindsey Graham and he said that he tried to tell you. Is Lindsey Graham lying? He's like, oh, no, he did. He mentioned it in passing. And then he was like,
They got Kellyanne
Yeah,
Conway.
Trump's such a
no.
liar.
And then he's
Like,
like,
is it
no, I
second
told
nature to
Kellyanne
him?
Conway. And then he's like, oh, Kelly's right here. Did he tell you this? She's like, yeah, but I guess it didn't go to the right channels.
You know who Trump reminds me of? And like that whole scene, it's like when Thanos is putting his foot on the collector, and he goes like, "Why would I lie?" And he's like, "I assume for someone like you, it's like breathing." And he's like,
Okay.
"It's like suicide or
I
something."
thought
like,
you were saying Trump was like Thanos. And that
no,
was
hell no.
I was
Trump
gonna
is a
stop you right
collector.
there.
Trump is a
Okay.
collector in this one. Like lying is just second nature to
Okay.
him. Like I don't even think. Honestly, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt, and I think sometimes he might not even know he's lying. It's just an alternate facts in his
nobody
mind
ever tells
and
him
the
no.
alternate reality that's going on in his mind that he perpetually is just victimizing himself, and everyone's against him, and everyone's conspiring against him, and everyone's
Okay.
lying, and blah blah
Now-
blah. And maybe he just fucking went nuts, and he believes it. The stress of the job finally broke him, and he's living in an alternate reality, one that he's trying to
Okay,
make our
saying
reality.
it broke him is saying that he wasn't always like this.
He's always a piece of shit, but I really think, like, I mean, being on TV, being a CEO of your company, being in real estate, I don't think the pressure of that amounts to the pressure of
You're
day
used to
in
everybody
and day
doing
out.
exactly what you want. If not, you just fire them and move on to the next thing.
But I mean,
Doesn't
he is
work in
to an
public
extent. He's
office.
running the presidency like that, but you know that the in and outs of every day don't function that way, right? Like, I mean, he's taking calls left and right. He's pretty much. I know he's taking more golf vacations than Obama has in like 8 years, whatever. But it's still a pretty demanding job, even if you're taking it easy or not taking it seriously. And maybe he did break. I mean, we all know he's an egotistical, self-involved person, but maybe mentally right now he is at a point where, I don't know, where he's off the rails. Just like Kelly said, he's off the rails, for lack of a better word. And,
Okay,
you know?
so one more thing about Trump, and this is tangentially related.
Okay.
His tweet about the attorney general allowing
Yeah, man.
cases to go forward when when an election is coming up.
Well, he believes that the Department of Justice is his Department of Justice, not the United States, is that everybody should be loyal to him and not the country, and that if you are in the president's party, that you should get special treatment from the DOJ when you're being investigated for corruption. And that is just exactly goes back to him wanting to run the country like a business where everything should go through him, and whether it's right or wrong, if he decides on a whim that he wants things made differently, then he can. So I ask, do we really want to end up like these strongman democracies around the world? The Philippines, Cambodia, Turkey, where they say they have a democracy, they say they have a president, but then they just rework all the rules to make sure that that person is a dictator. We use religion to allege a divine prince, just like in the Leviathan, to carry out his will in the name of God and country, as you will. And any perceived treason, whether it's paranoid, ill-informed, can land a private citizen in prison. And it seeks to destroy a free press, expression and interpretation of religion, and erodes the rights of voting in diverse communities. In Cambodia, they just sentenced an Australian to 6 years in prison for filming a protest rally by accusing that person of being a spy, but in court and in his sentencing never once told him what country they thought he was spying for or who they thought he was spying for. They just carry out the will of the leader. It's why the Rohingya in Myanmar can be murdered by the thousands and millions and nobody can do anything about it. All these strongman democracies that Donald Trump looks up to and he wants us to be like, kneel it means treason. If you don't salute the flag, you're treason. If you don't clap for him when he talks, it's treason. If you go against him, it's fake news and treason. If you are a reporter, you're an enemy of the state. He's turning us against each other. He's making sure that we believe that there are more enemies in our backyard than at our doorsteps, and that he's the only one that can save us. That is the message he's trying to get across through everything that goes on, through all the weekly second page articles that we post, and all the different stuff that he wants to distract us with. The ultimate goal is to make us feel like we want him to solve all of our problems because it's just too much for us to handle.
I think the ultimate goal is for him to feel good about himself, and that will never happen.
Or go down in history as one of the greatest ever, and he won't, maybe in his mind.
Okay, speaking of people kneeling, Nike has
just
a new ad.
do it. Just do it.
I really don't have much to say other than props and kudos to Nike. I definitely think it was a smart move on their part to wait. So I don't know how authentic it is, right? They kept them on the payroll for a couple of years, waited to see what the temperature was, jumped in right at the right moment. You know,
or they're waiting for the midterms.
Or they're waiting for the midterms.
They're using their free speech because businesses and corporations are people too.
And that's fine. And again, I'm kudos to them. I agree with the move. I think it's great. I don't know if it's fully...
They made that suit for Serena Williams because of her...
blood clots, and then she couldn't use it at the French Open, right?
Yeah, so, Nike...
So maybe they're pissed off too.
Right, and again, these
but
athletes...
do they have black executives? Like, who's leading Nike, though? I'm not saying
I'm
that
sure
non-minority... people can't be for this. That's not what I'm trying to imply.
I'm sure they
do. You think Adidas is going to swoop into the NFL and take their uniform contracts?
No, the NFL kind of came out in defense of what Nike did today. If I saw something that said that they support it, that they're in favor of it.
After the NFL
one thing I'm
to
seeing,
find players.
Yeah, but
one thing I'm seeing go around
Facebook,
Facebook,
Papa John and everything. I think there's a whole. Like, it's not the same environment we were in last year. I think we're going to see this season that they might not be full of support.
They're talking about boycotting Nike now.
They're fucking morons. Let them.
I mean, listen, it's just going to go
the
same
really
way as what happens when
that Nike's catering to?
They boycotted Dick's Sporting Goods, Walmart. They tried to boycott Chick-fil-A, and everybody they tried to boycott. Nothing has happened.
Only
but what you're going to see,
America. One thing. Only in America will people boycott a sneaker company for doing an ad. And they won't boycott the Catholic Church for covering up hundreds, potentially thousands.
That's kind of what I was going to say.
Or Nikes and sweatshops.
Everybody's going around.
It's okay. You can use sweatshops and kids.
All these people are talking about how can liberals support all the stuff that Nike's doing when they've talked about their sweatshops and their low-wage workers and child labor and all this stuff. How can you not support that? But now you're supporting them because they hired Colin Kaepernick. We are going to burn our shoes and show that we're against Nike. But at the same time, these people burning their shoes never did that in the first place. They never stood up to it. They never stood up to it. They never once said that Nike's running sweatshops, so we're going to burn our shoes. They decided to burn their shoes once they realized that Nike was calling people out for their racism.
And this circles back to your point before, which I did want to comment on before we move topic, is that while I think you're right on what Donald Trump might be trying to accomplish and people on his camp are trying to accomplish in dividing us and making us feel like there's more enemies here at home in our doorstep than anywhere else, well, I think you're completely right on point with that comment. I don't think, and I really don't even fear a bit that we'll ever become one of those nations like Cambodia or whatever. I really do think that whether you're a strict constructionist or you see our Constitution as a breathing, living document, that document in itself is still strong enough, regardless of how you read it, that if push comes to shove and someone really tries to bring us down that road,
that is
those
what
conservative
Ned Stark
judges
said
that were
to
talking...
Cersei Lannister. That's all I'm saying.
Listen, we've had plenty of times when a dictator has tried to take over in this country. You've had Nixon, you've had Jackson.
I just don't think it'll happen.
But
would it get close
so
when people
far,
attempt it?
it's
I don't.
because someone else has stood up. But now we've got...
have a complicit Republican Party?
The Republicans were the ones that voted to impeach him.
They did.
The Republicans were the ones that voted to impeach him.
How long did it take him, though, to get to that point?
Oh, when the polls weren't in their favor.
Yeah,
and that's
when
what
it really became a
be.
shit show.
But the thing is,
the polls are still in their favor now.
They're not in their favor now.
So if that ever changes, if the winds ever change, and if Trump becomes a pariah to the party and not someone that helps people get elected, that might change too.
All right, I want
to
end on a final note because it's hot. And,
it is very hot.
We're about 10 minutes over time already.
All right.
I do not want Trump to be impeached.
Me neither.
It sounds crazy.
Nope.
Neither do I. I'd rather him resign.
No.
I'd rather
2 days before his own, so Mike Pence can't do anything.
In front of everyone, and have him to have concede, and then have him have to stand there like Obama did and hand the fucking keys over while the whole world is looking at him.
Robert Mueller is waiting for him so he doesn't get in the helicopter. But here's the thing. This is what will happen if he's impeached. I do believe Giuliani. I do believe Trump, right?
there will be violence in the street. And here's the thing: his people will do something stupid, and then Antifa will do something more stupid, and then shit will happen.
It'll be the firing on Fort Sumter.
And so I think America, if we want the soul of the country back,
we got to win it back.
You have to win it, and you have to win it the right way. And the same way, if you have a bully in school, you know what you got to do? You got to punch the bully in the nose.
Hell yeah, right in the fucking mouth.
And the election is
the biggest guy in jail or something,
the bully in the nose, because all of his supporters, just like he has a mandate, he won, and therefore everything is okay.
Yep.
Then let truth and justice actually win.
Have him lose a popular by like 3 million votes.
Again.
Have him again, or 4 or 5. Have him definitely, I mean, without a question, lose the electoral college. I mean, make that map blue. And then have him with a straight face go on camera and say, I got cheated. Or this isn't right. Or I'm not, or this is not the will of the people.
Or the Russians work for the
Russians,
Democrats.
yeah. Whatever the case is, let him go on. And you'll have to, because then how long is it from the election to the actual inauguration? Is like 3 months, right? So those 3 months, when you have the other president-elect campaigning, walking around with that seal of the president-elect, this asshole is going to have to really he's gonna have to defend what happened or defend himself, and he's not. He's not
He
even able to.
He could end up being like.
Right, but if you impeach him, he'll have a platform forever.
Listen, it could end
to
up
say
being
that
like
he was
the
cheated out of
1802
office.
election. At the 1802 election, you had Thomas Jefferson, who right before midnight on January 19th or whatever the last day the presidency was then, who passed all these rules, signed all these judgeships.
Oh, Trump will absolutely do that.
He's going to do everything, but right before midnight, and then whoever's next president is going to be like walk into this giant dumpster fire and be like, how do I put this out with a bottle of water?
With a pen, just like Trump undid everything Obama did.
So look, he has not yet undid. I mean, he's gotten very good at undoing a lot of Obama, but he hasn't finished everything
If he loses the election, Congress won't back him with whatever he does. So his only option would be to do whatever he wants through executive action.
Empirically thinking, it would only take one bill from Congress that says we are overriding everything that just happened and putting it to this, and this.
I mean,
they could write one.
Listen,
look at the $1.5 trillion tax bill and say that wasn't challenging to print. Just to print it, I mean, they probably killed 10,000 trees. So if that was your final note, my final note is to mention that California has passed a very strict net neutrality law that the federal government is probably going to sue them over, saying they don't have the authority to do so. But I believe that when California says something, you tend to listen, and I would love to see other states follow the California model. Listen, that's why you still find things on your thing that say this is known to the state of California to cause cancer, and you're in New Jersey, like, how did this get here? Because if you want to sell something in California, it's more economical to just print it for the whole country the way that California wants it.
Because California is the biggest economy in America.
And it's the 5th largest economy in the world. So if they say net neutrality is secure, then I think we should listen to them. And I applaud
final comments anyway.
Yeah. Courtney points out he doesn't agree with me. He thinks if Trump is corrupt, then he should be impeached because you can't have a crook in the White House. And if the right riot, let him riot.
Courtney, I disagree only because he's not the first crook in the White House. He's probably just the worst crook in the White House. And I just think with everything that Steve said is right. Like,
Courtney, I do agree with you.
Yeah,
in spite of these two knuckleheads, I agree with you that he should be impeached but not removed. I think that the House should send a message, impeach him, but the Senate will not remove him.
Then he wins again.
No, he doesn't, because he has to go through everything that Bill Clinton went through that completely negated the last 3 years of his presidency.
And what is the story about Bill Clinton anyway? That he got by, that he beat it, that he stayed. Whatever.
Yeah, he got by on a blowjob charge. This is a corruption charge. The whole point of having reasons for impeachment, the whole point of having this Constitution is to make sure that someone like this cannot be in power.
Another thing that we should point out, and I think everybody should keep their eye on this, if there is. See, people are so angry now with this good economy where there's jobs everywhere. You know how people get when money runs dry. Mm-hmm. How will people behave when they don't have jobs to go to and they got to sit at home and stew?
But I'm worried that will happen.
That is like the sort of the match.
Occupy Wall Street rallies.
But what if that happens?
No, I'm saying in
that
the
should
world,
happen during the recession.
In the polarized world we live in today, where people are like prone to anger and arguments and resent, like. If there's actually, because right now it's the perception that the Mexicans are taking your jobs. But so what happens when you actually have no jobs and somebody says it's their fault?
You have the Arab Spring. You have the only person who survived the Arab Spring in Bashar al-Assad.
Or you have concentration camps. Well, you're around the Mexicans and brown people.
You could do that. I still say that the camps on the border are still better than some of the refugee camps in the Middle East and Africa. So I'm not willing to call them concentration camps. I'm willing to say they're wrong. but I don't think that that's what they are.
All right,
I think it's a mischaracterization.
Gentlemen,
What's your final?
I do work tomorrow, so my final thought is this. I was having an argument, I would call it a debate because I like this person, so I'm not going to say it was an argument, about Nike and Kaepernick and what the hell it stands for and all this. So all I want to say to everybody is listen to the person and the people that are taking a knee and what they meant to do and inspire with that action. It was never about the military. It was never about being unpatriotic. It was never about the flag. It was never about the anthem. It was about excessive police brutality within black communities. That's it. All right? You can't let someone else co-op and tell you what they meant or give it another definition to what their actions mean. Like, these people are literally saying one thing, but yet you're listening to someone else giving
How about
that action
people
a
stop
definition.
listening to their Führer to tell them what to
Exactly,
think?
yeah. It's really simple, okay? When you see Cap kneeling, whether you agree with it or not, all he's trying to say is that there's an insurmountable amount of police brutality going on in the black community. That's
But
it.
why
You
talk
agree-
about that uncomfortable thing when you can just say you're being disrespectful to the military?
Exactly.
Even
I
though
guess.
he literally says this has nothing to do with the military.
Because you're
Listen,
ignorant.
they burned
and because
NFL
and because
jerseys
it
and the
bothers
NFL didn't
you,
go out of business.
and because it bothers you and you want something that feeds your narrative or whatever.
But here's the thing: you have to ask yourself, why does it bother you? Why does it really bother you?
Because you probably don't agree that it's happening.
No, maybe you are already angry, and someone just pointed you in a direction.
Mm-hmm.
Because there are deep-seated things that people have, and anything can be a scapegoat as a place of release.
I saw.
And it takes
today.
nothing to tweet, and it takes nothing to put out a video.
It's easy to hide behind the keys of a keyboard.
Right. And it makes you feel like you belong to a side.
Yeah.
Right? So the side that you chose was the you're disrespecting the military, and a bunch of people are going to cheer you on.
They'll show pictures of Pat
right?
Tillman and all that, despite the fact
That you don't know where Pat Tillman would have laid on this issue, on what side of it or not.
and that Tilbit,
There's a lot of
Molly
veterans
Tilbit
that
that was
agree.
killed by
I
an
don't know.
illegal
If I-
immigrant.
He was
Her
killed
whole family was
Yeah.
saying that don't use this. She didn't believe in that kind of stuff. How dare you use that? And the guy was legal
I saw
anyway.
something today that said that the people that are burning their Nike shoes are people that ran out of crosses to burn.
Yeah.
And I was
Yeah.
Let
like-
me ask you a question. I'm going to ask you this. Was it disrespectful to the flag when Roseanne sang the national anthem?
And put in her crotch or
yeah.
something? No.
No. But let me ask
not
you
to
another
me
question.
personally,
Let me ask
but-
you another question. You're a married guy, right?
I am.
You just got
Engaged, yes.
engaged, didn't you?
Yes,
Yeah.
it did.
Did you get on one knee?
Yes, it did.
Did you get on a knee when you proposed to your
I
wife?
did not.
Okay, well, Joe, I'm going to bring this over to you. Why'd you get on a knee?
I was protesting police brutality in Europe.
Okay.
No, I got on one knee because, as I'm sure you're going with this, it is a sign of love and respect. And
Is it now?
And when I played sports, when I played soccer, when I played football, when someone was hurt, you got
take
on
a
one
knee.
knee to show solidarity with the person suffering.
When you're knighted, what do? You get on your one knee.
Yeah, not
Right.
two knees, you get on one
You
knee.
get a one knee.
So the idea, because again, remember, Colin Kaepernick sat down at first and then spoke to a service member
Who said it would be better and more respectful if you took a knee
right,
instead of sitting
it is
down.
respectful to take a knee. You take a knee to pray,
But
right?
these people will never
But
listen
you
to
don't
it.
want to see that.
Nope,
What
nope.
you see is the anger that you already had.
Yeah.
So just say what. Tell them why you really mad,
Yeah.
son.
I would rather someone say, I don't think there is, a problem with police brutality in the black community. Fine. I think you're wrong, but fine. Say that that's wrong, but at least you're still on message.
Only
right?
if you don't live there.
Right.
It's always some person who doesn't live in your shoes
Like, whose
telling
uncle
you
and cousin and
why
son
you
or
should-
child.
shouldn't be angry.
Or they throw out this fact. Oh, by the numbers, more white people get shot by cops. Yeah, there's a lot more white people in this country that are black. When you really put
Yeah,
down the
but
percentages of it,
two words per capita.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, and that's where you see that go like that. So I mean, whatever. But if you can disagree with that
Look at
premise
prison
all you
population.
want,
Look at side by side
but stay on
mugshots
message.
of white terrorists that have been arrested by police with no damage, and black guys who shoplifted or something like that, and their entire
Or
faces
did
are puffy and
nothing.
disfigured,
Or did nothing.
absolutely nothing, and ended up with 16 bullets in their back. Which I believe, what is it, Van Dyke, the
or
police
like
officer
that
in
poor
Chicago.
was it Tamir Rice, that poor 9-year-old who literally in 30 seconds this cop decided he wanted to shoot an
All right, but we're not gonna.
Yeah, we're not
gonna
gonna
solve this
Yeah,
tonight.
yeah,
The
yeah,
point
we're not.
is,
Listen, at least one cop is
Stay on
been
message,
indicted
guys. Stay on
for-
fucking message. It's not about
Only-
patriotism or the flag or
In
the
Chicago.
anthem. Stop getting played. All right.
All
That's
right.
it.
Tell them where they can find you, Joe.
All right. If it is displaying properly at the bottom of the screen, you can find me in St. Louis, rolling on them dubs.
So that still hasn't changed.
At Joseph So Swald at the Twitters, and you can message us on Facebook, which we are simulcasting on YouTube. So please remember to like and share. We promise that if you like us, that you'll love us. And if you subscribe on YouTube, you'll have something to do.
So working relationship.
Indeed. And it is Tuesday nights now that we are going to be trying to go on live. No more Saturday afternoons as the midterms are coming, and it's getting more important to go live during primetime hours. So please set your clocks.
And we want to keep our Saturdays.
And we
Let's
want to
tell
keep
the
our
truth.
Saturday
Yeah.
mornings. It's getting a little more difficult to get here. But yes,
That was
please.
my issue. That's why I haven't
Participate,
been here,
join the conversation, comment, message. Try to call us. Steve can get you in on a Skype call if you want, and we just have to vet you real quick. Make sure you're not a robocall.
Whoever's watching on YouTube, thanks.
Yes, and
Thank you.
just thank you in general. Jay, back to you for where they're going to find you, since people probably forgot for a moment.
You can find me here.
Yeah.
You know what? I kind of
At
actually
Chin-o'clock.
forgot what my Twitter handle was.
That's crazy.
It's what is
J.
it,
Martinez?
something,
Seven?
something,
I don't know. Something.
Something or other?
something
or other.
something dark side.
I'll get back into the flow of this. And
Yeah,
I'll come back
just
to
get
the
us on
end. You know what I
Facebook.
mean?
Twitter's so yesterday's.
At J. Martinez Jr. There,
There
it
you
is.
go. What
All
about
right.
Steve,
Thank you, LeVar Jr.
the ex-producer, now commentator, training the new producer?
I'm slumming it. New producer has things to learn, but we're going to teach him.
I think he did a great job.
Listen,
today,
you'll get
man.
a
Thank you,
fine
man.
letter of
Thank you.
recommendation. Oh, and your mom likes us.
Oh, there you
All
go.
right, but anyways, you can find me on your favorite social media network, as long as it's not Snapchat, at Steve A.M. Johnson. And you can also find me, if you want to hear about movie stuff, you can find me on The Reel, and that goes on Mondays at around this time.
Around this
Ish.
time.
It's prime time.
Live every week. And last week we did something
Thank
very
you, Courtney.
special. We let one of our viewers, Courtney, decide what the topics were going to be. So
go.
you
Okay,
can
cool.
message us, and then we will choose your topics to talk about on the show.
I like that.
So join the party.
Giving you what you want.
Yeah.
That may happen here, but
Even when you
I
don't
think
want
we
it.
like picking the topics.
That's rape.
Call in if you want to change the topic. Call in if you want to change
Yes,
the topic.
and you can join this show and talk with us.
Well, now Steve's sitting in the only other seat, so you can't be in here with us unless you really want to.
We could call and be behind his head.
We can
on
make
the
things
TV.
work out.
We can have a floating.
We have
head.
options.
All right. Well, thank you again for joining us at the second page, where we are live to bring you all the fun stuff that's happened during the week and to talk about them. We sincerely appreciate that, and we certainly hope that you will stay cool. For those of you going back to school, any teachers, anything like that, we wish you the best of luck in the upcoming school year and the safest of school years. We sincerely hope that it will not be a repeat of all the news we had to repeat about last school year.
But it probably will.
But it probably will. So thank you again so much for watching. We will see you next week. Tune in next time.
Hugs, not
Later,
drugs.
guys.
Sometimes drugs. That's a bit warm. Well, I'm sure we can get